Hello, my name is Caitlin Bettenker. My partner in this Globus simulation was Austin Bell. Our Globus team name was Cavalier. Our mission statement was to allow customers to use quality products to capture their life and share their adventures with the rest of the world. Our overall business strategy was the best cost strategy. We took some time to come to this strategy. When we started this simulation, we went with a more aggressive differential strategy. And to put it simply, that strategy just blew up in our faces. It just did not work for us. Very first round, it landed us last place. Um, so after that, yes, we did attempt the best cost strategy, both in the practice rounds and then later on in the real simulation. In the practice round, best cost worked really, really well for us, and we placed really, really high. But when we started the real simulation, we decided that we were going to be a little bit more aggressive. And so we went with the differential strategy. But yeah, as I said before, that didn't work for us. So yes, we did change it. We did change our strategy throughout the simulation. Again, we started with the differential, and after that, after it worked out poorly for us, we just attempted to recover with the best cost strategy, and it actually really worked out well for us. Our rankings only improved as the simulation went on. So we changed our strategy right after the first round of that real simulation. We changed it because um, the one that we chose stuck us in last place, like I said, and we were not about to stick with the losing horse, so to speak. So we learned not to assume that our competitors would do the same thing that they did in the practice round. So we kind of based our decisions off of what we knew our competitors had made decisions on before. So that was a big mistake. We didn't think that, I don't know why we didn't think that they would attempt to also alter their strategies, but we didn't take that into account when making our decisions. So because we just assumed our competitors would stick to what they knew, we paid dearly for that assumption. We did not do well because they did adjust and they did do better than we did. Um, so we changed originally from our practice simulation because we had a desire to do better. We wanted first place, obviously, and so we wanted to hold the highest market share in the class. And we were greedy. You know, we didn't stick with what we knew would work, and it clouded our judgment. And so, um, we had we stuck with that best cost strategy the entire time, I believe that we would have been even closer to the top ranking than we were when we finished. Even though we did get pretty close, if we had started with it, I feel like it would have been a lot better for us to just stick with what we knew and just run with it, but we didn't. If I could do it again, I most certainly would do some things differently. I would not have released so much stock right at the beginning. And what we did is I basically just released a whole bunch of stock for financing, and that was really dumb of me to do because I spent almost the entire simulation buying back that stock so that we could get our earnings per share back up because it was such a struggle to raise that. The entire game, our earnings per share was almost always too low. That was really frustrating trying to get that back up. And, I could only buy back so much each round. And, I had to do it in increments where it wouldn't hurt everything else, like our other ratings. So if I bought back too much stock, then other things would plummet, and I would have to kind of readjust everything else to make it the best that I could for each round. So that was really frustrating. But the more I bought back stock, the better off our company seemed to be in general. So I didn't sell any more stock, but I bought back as much as I could reasonably, and that did help us a lot. So yeah, another thing I would have done differently is I wouldn't I would have stuck with the best cost strategy just right out of the gate because it worked so well for us in the practice simulation. I think it would have worked really well for us if we had started with it in the real simulation because we didn't start with it and we kind of were playing catch up the whole game with it. So I feel like if we had started with it, we wouldn't have had to play catch up and we would have done really, really well. Just because we already knew that we could, and we just decided to be more aggressive and greedy, and that really, we clouded our own judgment, and that makes any sense. So My personal takeaway is to pick a strategy from the start and stick with it, because having to change, I mean, it has consequences and they're not fun to deal with. I mean, I had to make up so much just to catch up with everybody else, and then it just to see it pay off gradually, to see my rank move up above the other teams, that was satisfying, but I would have preferred to be at the top the whole time. So I also learned just to trust your instincts, because had I done that, my team would have fared off a lot better in the long run, because my instinct was don't change anything, just run with what you know. And I pretty much gagged that thought and threw it in the corner. And I'm like, no, we're gonna be more aggressive. We're gonna win this. This is how we win. And I was so wrong. I was so wrong about that. So definitely just stick with your instinct, pick a strategy and stick with it the entire time. That was the advice given to us at the very beginning of the simulation, and I just didn't listen. I was like, no, I think I know what's best, and I did not. So yeah, definitely those are my biggest takeaways right there.